Hello and welcome to your quantum embodiment. I'm Dr. Jennifer Markham, naturopathic doctor with Vitality Healing Center, and I specialize in health, working primarily with vibrational and quantum healing modalities and sound healing, movement, and connection with the true essence of who we are. I'm here with my dear sister,
Hi
Sailor.
there. Thanks, Jen. My name's Sayler Shiningstar. I am what am I? I'm an encourager of women, children, men, animals to have a voice, to be present, and I have a love for embodiment and that presence and connecting with the earth and the elementals, nature, for balance, healing, peace. Yeah. And I've been starting to play with silversmithing and loving that. So it's just a little bit about me. And Jen
Coming
and
in.
I, yeah, we like to just play with different ideas. We have similar backgrounds, different backgrounds. I've played in some of the same areas of the world, sometimes together, sometimes very separately. And yeah, we have fun.
We certainly do. We always do. And
Yeah.
I love that you said silversmithing, so you're working with learning how to make you going through that alchemical process, or at least learning about that, and then the molding of the precious metal into
Or
jewelry, to whatever.
yeah, yeah. Um, uh, Everything I'm doing right now is hands-on. When I get a little further into it, I can start to design on the computer and actually have things printed out and printed into form of whatever the jewelry is to look like, so that I don't have to do a lot of hands-on. And and I love the hands-on. So I'm
That's
really
yeah, yes. Well,
uh,
Sailor, I'm gonna ask, can we go right into like a presence grounding, like in
yeah,
this very moment? Will you guide us?
I will. I'd be happy to. This is a short one. I like quick, short, and potent. So this might take a minute max, just because of all the talking to get you through it. To do it otherwise, it just takes seconds. So find yourself, uh, just connect with yourself. Breathe, little in, little exhale, and again. Don't worry about the type of breathing you do. Just breathe in a manner that is comfortable for you. And now feel your feet, if they're on the floor there or in your shoes, wherever you have your feet touching something or another part of your leg. Feel your backside or your back on a chair, on a couch, on the bed, in your car seat. Just a second point of touching connection. And then if your hands or fingers are touching something, whether it's themselves, a steering wheel, a fork, a laptop in front of you, your phone, just be aware of all three places or three places. Take another breath or two. Yeah. And when you're ready, just open your eyes or simply continue on with the presence of your connection with yourself and everything around you. And of course, keep breathing. Don't just breathe because I say so. Please don't do what I say with that. Keep breathing.
And they're waiting, and I'm waiting. Media? Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Ah, that's just yummy presence. That's
yeah,
just
yeah,
magical, you're right, just a few moments.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when we can be present like that, it is a presence, a present to ourselves and anybody and anything around us. Because, we affect so much. Yeah.
That's right. Our interconnectedness and consciousness is that, you know, however our energy, our frequency is, we have the ability, or it is just naturally occurring, that our energy and our frequency, or maybe say our mood, may be
Mhm.
felt or is felt by others, and leads into our responsibility, or rather our awareness within our own selves, that we can be affected by, if we're not so conscious, some more than others be affected by the energies around us. But when we're become very present within ourselves, and I would feel like it is grounding, it's grounding to these points of contact, to the body, this embodiment, and then it feels almost more than like not needing to be said, but this is part of why we're here today and why we come together, is to just give some words in these moments, to simple presence practice, to bring us into embodiment moment to moment. And whether we interact with people face to face, or we do so over phone, or we do so over video, we still have that, you know, our subconscious, our energetic, our frequency body, our vibrational body, we're interacting. And that doesn't mean, I want to point out that that doesn't mean like, therefore, you better only interact with people when you are in your best, because you're always in your best, you're doing your best. But when you're only in a good mood, and but that awareness that, um, how we feel and where we're coming from can have an effect. Even a lot of people say, well, I'm not able to control my emotions so much anymore, or I want to control my emotions, or I want to control, whatever it may be. I offer less of the control language and more of the, just bring it right back to the embodiment, a presence within ourselves, and see the power that unfolds in taking those moments. Thank you, Sailor. And
Oh, you, Doug. Oh,
honor that today. Oh, please. Yes, if you're not, you got something to say there, please.
I was just going to say that we were, so we set up this Zoom, not knowing what we would speak about. So we were batting that around this morning, just seeing what comes up. And oh, I was going to say, of course, there is Equinox,
Spring Equinox, yes.
and I like the theme of presence. And we also had with the Equinox the balance of the light and the dark, and just different things. And it's like, okay, so how can we actually just, I don't know, just be
Hmm.
in that balance and presence, and who we are. Oops.
I'm a little kitty.
Kitty is like the netting.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Sounds like an exciting combination.
oh
Netting and kitty. Ab-
yes.
Absolutely. And with
Oh,
the spring equinox, and that balance, the 12 hours of darkness, 12 hours of light, or very close to that here within the next few days, March 19th. Um, I love, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that internal balance between the doing and the being. the doing, it's spring, it's starting to come into spring. So there's like so many things going on. At least I can speak to it in my world. There's lots of getting together, lots of conferences and calls and actions and opportunities. And so there's a lot to do. And some of that is the doing is just to speak. And, but whether it be spring or any time of year, and today, speaking of that, it's that balance between, okay, there's doing, there's all perhaps the opportunities. Maybe there's not a lot going on in your particular life, for example, but balancing whatever we are doing with simply being. And when you said just to be, the thought came, which often does, breathe and be. Breathe and be. I just had this image of um like a little child, you know 3 years old or something, following after, well, seemingly following after whatever their mom or dad are doing, and they're like sitting in like a little lotus, and they got their little hands on their knees, and they're you know emulating to just be present. And I find that joyful joyfully beautiful, because a child is uh closest in that way, naturally, from the place of, many reasons, but naturally in that place of just like presence to the moment. And I just had that image, but to breathe and be present, I think I can speak to as like an adulting. Um, Somebody was speaking the other day, like, why is it that a lot of people, when they become an adult, speaking of animals,
I don't hear them.
you don't? Okay. I just have a little bit of background symphony here. So why is it then, why when you do now? Okay. Let me just one moment here.
Okay.
Oh, that's what. But
So somebody's arriving home where Jen is, and the dogs are going off. So she's trying to save
absolutely.
the audio from having the dogs.
It's of course, thank you, Sailor. Exactly. So when we are children, a lot of times, in especially the adolescent or the childhood years, like, okay, you have your activities, and then we have a nap or two per day. Then you get a little bit older, and teens, they could like sleep all night, but maybe have like a nap. And certain cultures, like having a nap after lunch, or a time of rest, is like the siesta. And somebody said, why is it that when we become an adult, suddenly it's like, well, no, there's no time for naps. Like, you have to just keep going, just keep pushing. You have lots to do. That'll never end. And so similarly, there will always be things to do, even if those things to do is, I got to do yoga, and then I got to journal, and then I got to go, um, to this class and this appointment, and it's all very good for me. But if there's no rest, of course, oh, well, hopefully in that mix could be meditation, or simply just like you shared, and I'm feeling it still like reverberating in my body, just simple, wherever we are, just pause, breathe, be. That's the original state. And from that being, all else arises. It's not the other way around. It's not like all the mind will figure it all out. This has been my perspective from from my journey thus far. Let's just say that. Yeah. Breathe and be.
My mom used to have a favorite saying of all the things I've lost. I miss my mind the most. And I think she thought of it in a different way than I take that, and that is the losing of the mind. But for me, it's the losing of the mind chatter,
Mm.
having to know and do and figure it out and understand and that silence. This and what I so when my brain's silent and my energy is expanded, there's a spaciousness of being and connection with and with everything, if I so choose to be aware of it, because I'm connected anyway. Maybe I'm just not aware of it. And then how that can go out exponentially, you know, out past universes. And oh, that gives I get chills with that one. Yeah. And the peace that brings, even with the enlivenment that it brings, the peace. Ah, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I sense it as like stillness, and yet just like a vibrating, as we might picture it, or I'm picturing it like this, like a vibrating like atom or vibrating anything. Everything is energy. So everything in its vibration. So like a stillness, which feels that peace, but then there is that potential, like physics, like energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is present. I'm gonna put it there, bring it more into the spiritual. It's
Hmm.
in the quantum. It is present. So there's like infinite possibilities and yet stillness. It gives me that image of like Lord, is it Lord Krishna? I have to be honest, like I'm not that versed in all of the depths of the traditions and stories, but I believe I recall sitting in at Lord Krishna sitting in the nothingness, sitting in stillness, like the potential
Hmm.
and the soup, the nebulous of all infinite possibilities, but not doing, but just sitting, being, and from that place imagining, thousands upon thousands of possibilities of creation. And I don't say that because I love to think about all the possibilities in that place where you led us, a few minutes ago, but knowing that that potential energy is there. It's like all the little things have the potential to go in their perfect place, and so they shall. And number one for me is just to be in the stillness. It feels quite opposite than what is taught in let's just say in school or traditional. I don't even know if it's traditional.
Current times, the last 50 years or what have you,
Mhm.
maybe more. Well, and as you've been talking about stillness, and we touched on children earlier, and being present, you know, and until we adults dampen the being present with children, their their presence is each and every moment, and many times it's in motion. They're building something, they're drawing something, they're coloring something, they're taking something apart to put it back together as something different. Their imagination, if we haven't squelched it, or TV hasn't squelched it, or whatever electronics hasn't squelched it, to come from within naturally, not coming from what they're seeing, but that creativeness that comes from a child's motion. um I'm just kind of that, we're talking about equinox and balance and light and dark. And so motion and stillness and
Mm.
what many of us I won't even say that. Because when somebody says meditation to me, I go, ah. And yet when I think about it, so I went to a silent retreat a couple Sundays ago, and it was awesome. The whole day was the only one that spoke were the leaders. Um, and I liked that. And there was lots of meditation. I did more meditation that day than I probably have done in my lifetime as far as sitting meditation.
Mhm.
And I realized I do so much walking meditation. So yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is uh, find your own balance
Mhm.
and what is required. Because what is my truth for balance is not necessarily Dr. Jen's truth. It isn't anybody else's truth. Yeah, where's your happy place? Where's
Mm.
your peace and inner and outer connectedness? And that place of being in, I wouldn't say non-judgment, unjudgment. Because non-judgment almost sometimes sounds like it has a tinge of judgment to it. Oh, I'm non-judgmental. Not just but being unjudgmental, because or a judgmental, a in many terms, especially medical terms, means without, aseptic, without septic. Yeah, so hmm,
Judgmental. Yeah.
yeah, things to ponder on, and
Oh,
a way to stretch. What else can I do and be and still be in a place of peace and presence, and or joy and presence, or sadness and presence, whatever that is, anger and presence. Be with it and then alchemize it into something that is moving you forward and actualizing something different in your life.
mm, mm. That really speaks to me. You know, versus the resistance, but being present. And I love how you bring up not just like, oh, all love and lights, no negative feelings, no negative talk, no negative words. Oh, of course, like we are here. It is the light and the dark equal.
Yes.
As
Yeah.
above, so below. As within, so without.
Yeah.
Truly a reflection and bringing it from out there to within is greatly empowering. And I love that. Yes, I would love peace and joy and bliss all the time. And then there's other emotions, there's other things. And considering not to resist those, to be with them or to speak them or to write them, basically to feel them, be
Mhm.
present with it. And then perfect, alchemize. Oh, alchemy. I love that word. Yes, absolutely. And we each have our own way. For some of the other beautiful connective groups that I had the pleasure of being with these last few years, a lot of people actually in the last few months, especially people who have said, "Oh, I used to meditate for years, and just recently, I I'm getting the message like no more meditation." And by that I mean sitting down, close your eyes, nothingness, um, however long that might be. And many people have said recently, "Oh, I'm I'm in meditation all the time. I'm in meditation when I'm washing the dishes and when I'm folding the laundry and when I'm walking and when I'm walking the dog and when I'm vacuuming and whatever it might be. And some people, or we have that other statement of it, like being in flow state, like, well, there's no other thought happening when I'm swimming or when I'm walking or when I'm, and not that like, I would say even with meditation, seated meditation, which there are many forms of. And I love, it sounds like you were at Kipasa, what I am familiar with, and I just imagine how beautiful that was. I had the pleasure of that last year. And we have basically to echo on, to add into, we are either in flow or we're in presence, and sometimes it doesn't feel good. But like um, ancient practices and indigenous tribes and those with shamans understand, well, if there are emotions that are of the shadow or of the dark that are there are feelings of that, like we can't just put up a wall to that and never deal with that, and again, like only light, like okay, the shaman would be there to go through those emotions, to support a person or a family, maybe through speaking, through the voice, maybe through movement, whatever it is. There's not like this set recipe. We are individuals on a journey that I believe, just like individual traumas are serving, meaning we each have our unique experiences and challenges. And there may be very many similarities, but whatever it is that we, as you said, we have many things that we have both shared, and then many, of course, that are divergently appear different or have been different experiences in life, as do everyone. And it's not really a measure of like, oh, mine is greater or yours is less or this is worse or comparing type of thing. Um, I believe that we are served by our journey, and then therefore also at different times, seated meditation really beneficial for me. Motion meditation, which is what children are often doing, they're like sand, like building, like, are they necessarily trying to like build a castle? But like, what is happening in their internal whole soul being, while they're just present to the moment? So it's easy to go on in so many ways about all of these like beautiful things about presence, and I see the mirroring where like when you're speaking, I'm just, yeah, I'm listening. And then when I'm speaking, I can feel your like presence, no mind, just there. And I love that too, because we're not just here as beings like solely alone. We're humans on this earth, we're having this experience, and we are reflections and consciousness. We're in co-creation with one another and with existence, and whether we're aware of it or not. And yeah, I love that I don't have to carry forth like the lone wolf uh, archetype or story, right? Like that we are journeying, we're in our individual journey, and therefore it looks how it may individually look, and that can change in time. But one thing that's like consistent in all of us is that desire for balance, peace, and again, back to as within, so without, as above, so below. We're reflections. Therefore, I believe we're encouragement and reminders. I
Yeah,
love that. I see that.
yeah. And when you say that, or as you were saying those things, what came to me is just to remind people no one has any greater or lesser worth. We all, as we show up in whatever the perfection is in that moment, is perfect for us, the planet, the beings around us. You know, if we're exploding and spewing stuff, somebody requires hearing that. Now, maybe they wouldn't dare do that, and it might give them permission to start voicing things. And maybe it gives somebody who might try to cut that off quickly a chance just to learn to breathe through that and allow the person to do what they do and spew and just let it flow through, not connect or get stuck in you, but let whatever's coming out of the spewing person just keep going. It eventually will use itself up, disappear, what have you.
Go into the earth and be transmuted alchemically.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's all energy, and it's only energy. It doesn't have to solidify in our body or being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That gets back to the being a judgmental or unjudgmental. There's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad. It just simply is in the moment, and we have a choice to to allow someone to say, do, be, speak, what have you, feel their own stuff, and for them, if it, to have a choice to do something differently, to experience the repercussions. We had somebody in the store yesterday. So among the many things that I do, I'm also I work at a health food store. We had some person in who might have been really high on something or drunk, I'm not sure. But she was dancing and kind of scaring people. And she had some bags and she was, you know, dancing around and turning, and she put something in a bag and dancing around and turning and put something in the bag. And she had a bag full of stuff in the bag. And then she had stuff in alongside that. And then she had stuff in between the double bag on the outside. And eventually, one of the owners and somebody else were called to intercept her and brought her up to the counter. And I was running the register, so I had the fun of finding all these little treasures that she had put in the box or the bags, and just being in a place of a judgment and curiosity, like, okay, so what else is in here? What else am I going to find? Is it something that belongs in our store that I'm ringing up for her? And then, you know, some of the other people that were around in our room, I had suggested at some point in time that they go around to the other side, because, you know, I didn't know what she was going to do when she's being, I'll just say, confronted by two of the other employees in the store. Yeah, and it ended up being peaceful. I will say that I have a tendency to bring the Zen energy in, so yeah, not getting caught up in all of those emotions and thoughts and things was, I got to be the balance. Like, be the balance and be there for everybody, including myself, in ways that each being and body required.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. Yeah, and I love the fact that I can change things simply by being me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. What a message. you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
simply by being you, or
Yeah.
simply by being you, simply by being me. We are able to witness that effect. And I love that example that you had. And clearly, just like you pointed out, just your presence, ajudgmental or unjudgmental, just awareness and presence. It's not like I you didn't speak it, but just as like to kind of go in the other direction. It wasn't like you were like, okay, so like what's this all about? Why you being the way you're being? Like you really need to not be that way, or even thinking, okay, let me what's going on? And not to say that there's any right or wrong way to, be moved to speak or share or be in presence. But what a perfect example of you being present and just being you, being authentic, being aware. And in that, there wasn't any greater drama. There was a witnessing, and we don't know maybe directly like how she experienced that and what was going on for her and whatever, and may never know. But I have a sense, as you said, there was more peace, and the presence that we find within, the presence that we bring within, by honoring all that might come up, and then again, presence within, finding that balance, honoring all that is there, honoring ourselves, allows for more compassion and respect and love and a judgment within anyone else and all around.
Yeah.
But first, I find within, then without.
Yes, that was going through my mind as you were speaking. Some of that other, as within, so yeah, as so without, and that internal peace, we can actually expand out
Mhm.
billions, gazillion, infinitely, spherically out from us. And ooh, I love that, the tingles that brings. And sh- share, gift that to anybody, anything out there, building, so animate or inanimate, alive or what is would be considered with no life, which always has some energy and life to it. But we can be a gift. Our energy can be a gift if we're willing to. Our energies are a gift no matter what. Let's put it that way. And if we would like to share,
Absolutely.
if share that, we can send that out to anyone who's willing to receive it, and maybe even knock on the door or tap a shoulder of someone who doesn't know that you're sending gifts out that their body desires and requires, or their being wouldn't, but their body would, um, may. And that if you send it out with that curiosity, then it can be a kindness to many.
Mhm. I love
Even
that.
if it's simply a seed being planted. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it as as you said it in another way. I think you also did use the word permission when you were speaking about someone like spewing, or as it were, maybe not so comfortable, like how to someone or many, how a person may be expressing or feeling or going through. And, but also the way in which every aspect, like it's all perfect. It's all perfect, all serving, and coming back to that judgment, or like the breaking down of the mind. Well, if it's like this, then it's bad, period. If it's like this, then it's good, period. But that duality, as within, so without, this is a recognition of all of the oneness. And as above, so below is the recognition of consciousness and oneness. And so when there may be judgment, oftentimes those things are just programmed, or it's a response based off of something that has happened that we eventually can have a story to because of a traumatic experience. Absolutely. It's kind of an experience as human in at this time, especially, maybe always. We have the ability to choose, to recognize, and awareness itself is just this powerful, like dynamite blaster of stories, limitations, fears. It has the potential to free us as the truth does. And so having compassion, permission, recognizing that which is in my sister or my brother, whether you know them or not, as a individual, that is within, or that has the potential to be within all of us at some point. And we don't have to necessarily understand with the mind. And some things can seem so inconceivable. How could someone do this? How could someone do that? But I think when we begin to judge and put it out, there's a lot of people are speaking about it. Oh, all the things going on with the world. Then I've heard it reflected that that creates so much unrest in them. Well, in reality, in history, there can be, and depending on where you put your focus, so much out there in the world that would be negative, or within a family, or within a community, or within a tribe, or people you know, or other people that know other people, and you just know that some negative things are happening, and you could always be in unrest. I think it brings me back to the idea of like the prayer of compassion and love for all, and bringing it back to the presence in our own being.
Yes. And those things that we have so much judgment on. Well, let me take a step back. So if you believe in reincarnation, if you believe that you are born into the situations that you have picked, the people, places, actions that you do or they do, my belief is I've picked all of that. And then we have judgments on what's going on around us or on the other side of the world or what have you. So just for a moment, what if these things that we have judgments or energy, intense energy upon, we have done in other lifetimes or current dimensions?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Remember when you have one finger pointed out, you have three fingers pointed back?
Oh,
Yeah. So when we're always on some level judging ourselves no matter what we do, whether we're aware of it or not. So if we can be a judgmental or unjudgmental, if we can be caring, compassionate, have gratitude, and be loving for ourselves,
uh-huh.
we don't have that other stuff going out to others, because that is what we exude or what flows out of us for others to experience if they're open to it. So yeah,
Mm.
in this spring equinox with more, well, the balance of light and dark right now, but more light coming and less light as we move from now into summer. Uh, what can we be? Who can we be? What
Mhm.
can we be to be more in balance, even if the light of day and night is not equal? How can we be that?
Mhm.
And choice, ask, what would it take to be in a space of balance and peace and joy without tamping down anything else that wants to come out? And be in a space of awareness when those things do happen, or if something's going on for somebody else, so that we don't have to react to it. We
Mhm.
can take action. We don't have to react to it. Hmm.
Oh, Sailor, thank you so much. I love how you shared that. And I couldn't help but notice during our call today, so you're wearing the black and what appears to be, white all around you. And then this might appear blue, but this wall behind me is actually black. And so we have this yin yang. We to completely unplanned, we have this light and dark and this balance. And I I love what you shared, and I'm feeling into as we go forth into this, as we spring forth, as we step into, as all life is in cycles, and it's in circular spiraling cycles of returning, having opportunities to sometimes see things again in a new way. And we have not only depth in our experience, I visualize it as a grounding depth in our experience and reflections. We have the opportunity for growth in our, maybe in our ascension, in our understanding, and wanting to have that balance between the body, mind, the spirit, the energetic sense, and the knowing of love, and all is well, and wanting to feel well and peace and joy within, and then wanting that for all other beings in existence, and then honoring that there's just a time and a unique cycle to all, and then to honor that within our own being. And there's such a push to see knowledge is power, but so much of the mind and the figuring out and the understanding. I love to, as you spoke of it, awareness and choosing and compassion and being, and then knowing that we have the power in each moment, coming back to just how you brought us into this connection today. Taking a moment, eyes open, closed, walking, what have you. But if it's, even if one's walking, just pause for a moment, close the eyes, have a few breaths. Notice the feet on the ground, touch a tree, or what 3 points of contact, wherever we're touching, like we're here, we're present to this moment. The power in that, I mean, there's research and all that, and I don't really feel like going into that direction at this moment or today. But we know it, we're the barometer inside our own beings. Take a moment, just be. Whether it's like, I feel great, or I'm not feeling great, but being present is such an honor and a reflection of like being present to this life, this body, our soul, one another, this experience, consciousness, and having overall gratitude and love, which I feel, well, deep gratitude for you, Sailor, for this conversation today. And I, as always, look forward to the moments to come and sharing with you all. Thank you for sharing this time with me today.
Thank you. And I want to add just a little something, because we've talked about the energy going out and being without judgment and allowance and spaciousness and awareness. And sometimes it doesn't make any difference what seeds we plant, what energies we are gifting. Sometimes there are people who it's not their time to receive. And as hard as that may be, that's another space of being an allowance without judgment, because this is what they've evidently picked in this lifetime.
Or at this moment.
Yeah, the moment too. Yeah.
Oh, I love that thought had kind of come to me as we were speaking earlier. So I'm so glad that you just shared that. Doesn't mean that, therefore, by that openness, it's just, well, then everything is just, I will change nothing. And however anyone else and I are interacting, then that's just fine, I guess. It is. And when we honor within, we can recognize maybe where there isn't that resonance. And it's not without love or compassion, but first within, that helps direct our life, our path, our journey, and therefore the journey of all.
Yeah.
Within. Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
thank you.
oh, my pleasure. I love when we get on and do these.
Me?
Sometimes I have resistance to wanting to get up. So we're right now 4 hours apart, 3 hours.
3 hours apart.
3 hours. Where we are, neither one of our areas change time when the mainland change. Rest of the mainland changes time.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to get up this morning. It's one of my days off. And I do. Oh my God. It just it feeds me. It feeds me. And I love this.
Oh, I love that. I can feel it too. Like I can feel it from you. And and there is resistance regardless of the time of day for me. There's resistance sometimes. Like, oh wait, yeah, what is it? I got other things. There's always something else. This brings me into presence. And by this, I mean presence with you, which is meaning you're choosing you, I'm choosing me. And then we represent that. Oh, I love it. In perfect harmony here, the light, dark, all the things. All right. We're gonna have to close for today. Wishing all a blessed vernal equinox, spring equinox, or whenever you watch this, the timelessness of it, perfect timing. Thank you for your presence and your awareness.
Thank you. Yes. Because we are aware of that. Those of you who will be watching, the energy is there. And thank you. Thank you so much for joining us and contributing from wherever you are and whenever you watch or listen to this. Thank you for your contribution. Mahalo.